The sun hadn't even broken the tree line when Marcus Johnson, a decorated Army veteran, unlocked the old iron gate to his lakefront cabin, the one place he thought he could finally breathe again. After 20 years of service, 2 tours overseas, and a lifetime of keeping his head down, this quiet piece of land was supposed to be home. A fresh start. A place where the only battles were with stubborn weeds and squeaky hinges. But peace has a funny way of attracting trouble. Marcus had spent the past few months fixing the place up, one small project at a time. He replaced the cracked dock boards, planted marigolds along the fence, and even built a small flagpole in the front yard, the stars and stripes waving proudly every morning at sunrise. It wasn't fancy, but it was his. Neighbors would sometimes wave from a distance, polite but cautious. He'd gotten used to that look, the mix of curiosity and judgment. Most folks in that HOA community were retired executives, not veterans who'd seen the world crumble up close. Still, Marcus stayed respectful. He minded his business, paid his HOA fees early, and never missed a trash pickup day. But one neighbor in particular seemed to have a problem with everything he did. Her name was Karen Whitfield, the HOA president, the self-appointed guardian of neighborhood standards. Karen was the kind of woman who treated every blade of grass like it had a job to do. Always in pastel sweaters, always with a clipboard. She had a smile that could cut through concrete, and a voice that made grown men check if their fence was half an inch too high. It started small. Complaints about unsightly tools left on his porch. Notes about the color scheme of his front door. Then came the passive-aggressive emails about noise from power equipment, even though Marcus only worked in daylight hours. He tried to ignore it. Pick your battles, he'd tell himself. This one isn't worth it. But deep down, he could feel it. That old instinct that something wasn't right. The way Karen's eyes lingered when she passed his property. The way she tightened her jaw when she saw that flag. Still, Marcus didn't think much of it. Until one Saturday morning, when the rumble of tires on gravel broke his quiet routine. A black SUV rolled up to his gate, neighborhood security printed on the side. And right there, in the passenger seat, was Karen Whitfield, watching him like he didn't belong. Marcus wiped the sweat off his forehead, set his paintbrush down, and squinted toward the black SUV idling by his gate. The early morning sun reflected off its tinted windows, turning the windshield into a dark mirror. For a moment, no one stepped out. Just the low hum of the engine and the uneasy stillness of the woods around him. Then, the doors opened, slow, deliberate. 2 men climbed out, both wearing navy polo shirts with cheap embroidered patches that read neighborhood security. They weren't cops. Marcus knew that immediately. No badges, no body cams, just radio earpieces and that puffed-up attitude of men who like to play authority. "Morning," Marcus said cautiously, walking down the gravel path. "Can I help you gentlemen with something?" The taller one, buzz-cut, mirrored shades, arms like tree trunks, took a step forward. "We got a report about an unauthorized person entering this property. Mind showing us some ID?" Marcus tilted his head. "Unauthorized person? This is my land. I live here." The second man glanced at a clipboard, pretending to read something. "Property under HOA jurisdiction. We were told to confirm identity before entry." Marcus felt his stomach twist. And then he saw her. The passenger door of the SUV swung open, and out stepped Karen Whitfield. Crisp white blouse, pearls, and that ever-present clipboard clutched against her chest. Her expression was half smug, half rehearsed concern. "Good morning, Marcus," she said smoothly. "We've had reports of some unusual activity on this lot. Just following up for the safety of our residents." Marcus blinked, trying not to laugh. "Unusual activity? Karen, I'm painting my porch." "Yes," she replied. "But this section of land borders community property, and without proper verification." He cut her off. "Karen, I've shown you the deed before. This land isn't under HOA control." She gave a polite, icy smile. "Let's not make this difficult." The guards started walking up his driveway like they owned the place. Marcus stepped forward, blocking their path. His voice dropped low, steady. "Don't take another step onto that porch." The taller guard smirked. "Sir, I suggest you relax." That word, relax, hit like a match against gasoline. His pulse jumped, the echo of distant shouts and desert dust flashing through his mind. He took a slow breath, eyes narrowing. This wasn't just a misunderstanding. It was an ambush, and Karen knew exactly what she was doing. Marcus slowly lifted his phone, his thumb brushing the record button. The camera started rolling, the red dot flashing in the corner of the screen. His voice was calm, but there was steel underneath. "Say that again," he said, keeping his eyes locked on Karen. "You're accusing me of trespassing on my own property?" Karen's expression didn't waver. She gave a thin, performative smile, the kind meant for HOA meetings and passive-aggressive neighbors. "Until you can provide proof of ownership," she said evenly. "We're treating this as an unauthorized presence. It's protocol." Marcus's jaw clenched. "Protocol? My name's on the deed, the title, the tax bill. You know that." She shrugged. "Then it shouldn't be a problem to show it again." He let out a sharp breath, fighting to stay composed. Every muscle in his body was tight, his military discipline the only thing keeping him from exploding. "Fine," he said finally. "Wait here." He turned and walked back into the cabin. Inside, it was quiet except for the ticking of an old clock and the faint hum of the refrigerator. His eyes landed on the framed photographs hanging on the wall. Him in uniform, his unit overseas, his mother smiling beside the flag the army had folded for his father. He paused for a moment, the weight of memory pressing down hard. This home wasn't just property. It was legacy. It was the only piece of ground that ever felt truly his. He grabbed the folder from his desk, property deed, purchase records, every legal paper he'd kept in pristine condition, and headed back outside. "Here," Marcus said, holding the folder out to her. "Everything's right here. Go ahead. Read it." Karen didn't even glance at it. She stared at him for a long second, then looked at the guards. "Until this can be verified by the HOA board, please escort him off the property." The words didn't make sense at first. It was like his brain refused to process them. Then the guard took a step forward, hand half raised like he was about to grab him, and something inside Marcus snapped tight. His voice dropped low, steady as thunder. "You lay a hand on me, and you'll regret it. I served my country to own this land, not to be thrown off it by a clipboard and a fake badge." The air went still. The war he thought he'd left behind had just come home. "Don't touch me," Marcus said quietly, but there was something in his tone that froze everyone where they stood. It wasn't a threat. It was authority. The kind of authority that came from years of command, from standing in places where hesitation meant death. The taller guard hesitated mid-step, his hand still half raised. "Sir, we just need you to." Marcus took one step closer. "Need me to what? Leave my own property? Because some HOA president can't stand a man fixing his porch?" His voice didn't rise, but every word carried weight, slicing through the morning air. Karen straightened her clipboard defensively. "Marcus, this isn't personal. You're making it personal. We're just ensuring compliance with." "With what, Karen?" he interrupted. "Your ego? Or your fake jurisdiction?" Karen's cheeks flushed pink. "You're being aggressive, and that's exactly why we brought security." Marcus pointed toward the blinking camera above his porch. "No, you brought trouble. And every second of this is being recorded." The guards exchanged uneasy looks. They were realizing this wasn't going how they expected. One leaned toward Karen. "Ma'am, maybe we should just back off until the sheriff arrives." "Sheriff," Marcus echoed. "Good idea. Let's get someone who actually understands the law." He pulled out his phone and, without breaking eye contact, called the local sheriff's department. His tone remained cool, professional, controlled, the calm before a storm. Within 15 minutes, the distant wail of sirens echoed through the trees. Karen shifted nervously, her arms tightening around the clipboard. When the sheriff's cruiser turned up the gravel path, she suddenly looked a lot less confident. The sheriff, a broad-shouldered man with graying hair, stepped out and immediately recognized Marcus. "Johnson, what's going on here?" Marcus nodded respectfully. "Got these folks claiming I'm trespassing on my own land." The sheriff looked between them, his expression hardening. "Trespassing? This man owns this property. I personally signed off on the survey when he bought it." Karen stammered. "Well, we were just enforcing HOA policy." The sheriff cut her off sharply. "Ma'am, HOA policy doesn't override state property law. You and your hired security are the ones trespassing." Karen's voice faltered. The guards dropped their gaze. Marcus just stood there, silent, unmoving, as the truth finally hit her. For the first time since that SUV arrived, he felt something deeper than anger. He felt justice, quiet, steady, and long overdue. By the time the sheriff's car pulled away, the gravel road was silent again. The so-called security officers climbed into their SUV and drove off without a word, their shoulders slumped in embarrassment. Karen stood there for a few seconds longer, her lips pressed tight, eyes darting between Marcus and the camera still blinking red above his porch. "Karen," Marcus said quietly, "next time you think about calling people like me a trespasser, you better check the name on the deed first." She didn't respond, just turned, heels crunching on the gravel, and climbed into the passenger seat. The SUV rolled away, the reflection of his flag glinting in her rearview mirror as it disappeared down the road. That evening, the air around the lake felt heavier than usual. Marcus sat on his porch with a cup of coffee growing cold in his hands. He wasn't angry anymore, just tired. The kind of tired that seeps deep into your bones after you've had to prove your worth again in a country you already served. A few days later, a letter arrived in the mail. Official HOA stationery. He almost didn't open it, but curiosity won. Inside was a formal apology from the HOA board, stamped and signed by the vice president. It stated that Karen Whitfield had been placed under review pending investigation for misconduct, and that all private security operations within the community were temporarily suspended. Marcus let out a slow breath, not satisfaction exactly, but relief. He didn't want revenge. He just wanted peace. That night, he walked down to the dock. The lake was still, the moon reflecting across the surface like liquid silver. He looked up at the flag waving above his porch, edges frayed from the wind, but still standing strong. He thought about the men he served with, the ones who never came home, the ones who would have given anything for this simple kind of peace. And for the first time in years, Marcus smiled, not because he won a fight, but because he refused to surrender. He whispered under his breath, "They can try to take my peace, but not my ground." The camera light blinked one last time before shutting off, the final witness to the battle that ended not with fists or guns, but with quiet, unshakable dignity. If you were in Marcus's place, what would you have done? Let me know in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe for more powerful true stories like this.